Hello, welcome to the Critical Citizen. I'm Rich. With the local government elections coming up in South Africa very soon, it's a great time to sharpen our critical thinking skills. Elections come with a flood of political claims, and this channel is here to help you break them down logically. While we will not focus only on elections, they are a perfect opportunity to build up the habit of analyzing arguments critically, which is something that we'll continue doing long after the elections. I recently watched SMWX, and Sizwe had Sandile Swana, the political analyst, as his guest. Mr. Swana made a very interesting argument about the Democratic Alliance in the Western Cape. He said the DA has mastered the art of profiling themselves as a success, when in actual fact they are just a better failure. Interesting argument. But the question is, does it hold up under scrutiny? That is what we need to put to the test, and I'll do that in three parts. Firstly, let's look at the argument to ensure that we understand it. And secondly, we will double click on each premise or each reason that he gives to back up his claim. And lastly, we'll look at the analogy that he makes, the better failure analogy that he makes, to determine if it's not a false analogy by any chance. Let's look into this argument. So the argument is that the claim made by the Democratic Alliance that they are a success is actually not true. According to Mr. Swana, they are not successful. What they are is that they are just a better failure, right? You would have heard the Democratic Alliance many times claiming that where they govern, they do a great job. Now, Mr. Swana disputes that. And he gives two reasons why he doesn't think the DA is a success. The first reason he gives relates to unemployment. He says that unemployment has risen from 5% in 1994 to 22% today. And all of that was under the leadership or under the watch of the Democratic Alliance. The second reason he gives relates to education disparities, where he says that the level of education of white South Africans is 4 times higher than that of blacks in the Western Cape. And again, that also under the watch of the Democratic Alliance. Now that we have our argument, the conclusion, the premises, let's now double click into each one of those premises that he makes to determine if they indeed support the point or the claim he makes. Firstly, unemployment. Unemployment has indeed risen over the years in the Western Cape. However, this trend does not exist in a vacuum. Economic shifts, national policies, and broader market forces, they all play a role. And, a fuller picture would include how the Western Cape compares to other provinces. Is it worse? Is it the same? Or is it even performing better? And looking into the Democratic Alliance-led policies over time would also tell us whether they contributed to rising unemployment or helped mitigate a larger crisis. Now on to the second premise, education disparities. The assertion that white South Africans have 6 or 4 times rather the education levels of black South Africans is significant. But it's also necessary to look at what policies the DA implemented in education and whether they contributed to this disparity, or were they simply operating within a pre-existing system. If the same trend is seen across the country, it could be an indication that the issue is not unique to the Western Cape. So the claim that the DA is a failure may need to be reconsidered. Now, let's look into the analogy that he makes, the better failure analogy. Now, I find that very interesting. He says, if we sit down to write an exam, the pass mark is 50%. I get 10%. You get 15%. You can't go around claiming that you are a success because you have also failed. As much as you got a little bit higher than me, you got 15 and I got 10, it's neither here nor there. You have failed. You are just a better failure. But now the question is, does government or governance work like that? Is it comparable to a school test with a fixed pass mark of 50%? Those are some of the questions that we need to ask ourselves, because success in government is often relative, measured against what was inherited, available resources, and how other provinces or administrations are performing under similar conditions. Now, if DA-led government produces better results than others, even if they are not perfect, does that align with the idea of failure? And if they truly are failing, then how do we define success? So to wrap it up then, does Mr. Swana's claim hold up? Well, depends. What does it depend on? It depends on how you define success. If your definition of success is an achievement of perfect outcomes, well then the DA has failed. They are a better failure, meaning Mr. Swana's argument holds. But if on the other hand, governance is relative, or success in governance is relative, measured against alternatives, then the argument becomes a little bit shaky. Well then, in my next video, we will double click into the DA's argument about their success in governance. So make sure that you don't miss that. Let's keep the conversation going. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and let's get critical together. See you in the next one.